Google Stadia, which is what I mean, Google has decided that they're going to be closing off the in-house development studio. Now, when it comes to Google Stadia, I've tested it out, but I'm not somebody who's used it extensively. My man, has actually covered Stadia in a lot of detail, as well as lots of other gaming content on your channel. So, do you want to kind of break down what has actually happened and what implications that has?
Yeah, so Google announced, I believe, a day ago that they were shutting down their Google Stadia in-house studio.
Mm.
Now, a lot of people took this as the beginning of the end because with Google's history, whenever they start doing this with any of their services or devices or what have you, it means it's the end, the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
But what's also really more shocking is the studios. The first culmination of the studio was October of 2020, roughly 3 months ago.
Mm.
So they just opened up the studios, and now they're shutting the studios down. So, which
Mm.
means, from a lot of speculation, I think what was going on is Stadia had a bad rap when they first launched. I was one of the people who gave them a bad rap because of connectivity, that the data usage and all that stuff. Right now, Stadia runs absolutely fine as long as you have a good connection. If you have a good connection,
Mm.
when I mean by good connection, I mean I would suggest 75 megabits up and down. You should be good to go. So the big thing was Cyberpunk 2077, and they were hoping that would be the big push for a lot of people to get on Stadia. And also the fact that it was one of the few places you could play the game with very little issues as well.
Okay.
If you played on PC, you were fine. If you happen to find able to get yourself an Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5, which is hard to, then it was fine. But everybody else
Mm.
had, PS4 or Xbox
Yeah.
One X. They had issues. So they thought that would be the big push. But here's the main problem was always with Stadia is that you had to pay for the service, at least the premium service, which is $10 a month. It's $10 a month. But the other aspect is you have to buy the games at full price. That was
Mm.
where the issue is. So for someone who already either, if you're a gamer, you either have a console or a gaming PC. You don't want to multi-buy these things. Paying
Mm-hmm.
$60 twice for something
Too much.
is too much. So I think this is where they are looking at that. And I was in a clubhouse room yesterday with some gaming heads, including some of the guys from Microsoft, not Larry King, but Larry. I can't remember his last name. A few other people, and we talked about Stadia. One of the guys there said it looks like Google is moving towards a technology play because now their technology works. And some of the game developers in there talked about how, not necessarily Stadia, but they use services like Parsec, which is what I use when I want to remote edit, to allow people to review games. So instead of them sending you the game, right? Because of course
Mm.
you could, even if they send you a download link, there's a possibility it could be pirated, especially if it's just in early development stage. So it's a service like Stadia where you can host the games on their server and then send it out to reviewers, and they can just play and stream immediately and go, okay, this works, this doesn't work, da da da, and for beta testers as well.
Mm.
So they talked about that, the fact that the technology now is a proven fact,
Yeah.
that maybe, and in my mind, I think Google is probably looking to shop and sell it as well. Maybe even looking to someone like Microsoft. Again, this is just me putting that hyperbole there
Speculating. Yeah.
because because Microsoft has Game Pass. Game Pass is great because number one, now you don't have to buy a game anymore. You just have to subscribe like Netflix. And you have access to over 200 games or 300 games if you're on the console. On your PC, you have access to about 150, 200, and on mobile, it's over 150 games. So that synergy there, the only difference is when you're streaming on mobile, there's load times, just like you were playing. Stadia
Mm.
doesn't have those load times. So I think this is where they're trying to go. They're probably, I'm just guessing that they're probably looking around saying, hey, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, maybe even, here you go. Although I mentioned Nintendo, somebody laughed and told me, it's like, look, Nintendo has made so much money of selling us their original Mario on every single system they've released. There
Yeah.
is no way they're gonna make it a streaming service.
That's true. That's true. No, it's interesting because I just remember right now. So, well, in the UK anyway, Google had an offer. This was back in December, where if you are a YouTube Premium subscriber, so this is where you pay £12 a month and you have access to YouTube Premium as well as YouTube Music, then you can claim a free Google Stadia controller, right? And I went ahead and claimed it, and I'm sure lots of other people claimed it as well. Does that hint something? Does that like now they were practically giving these away, right?
Yeah.
And now this announcement comes. Is that more of this beginning of the end, or is that them playing a different strategy?
I think that was especially because we had something similar in the US too. It was through different partners like Verizon and things like that. I think they were trying to make that holiday push. They were trying to get people and be, because it's a smart strategy, because during the holiday you're trying to buy an Xbox or PlayStation, you can't find it, and they're like, here's Stadia. But here's the part that they didn't have. They didn't have a subscription to it to go with it. Because if you said here's Stadia or here's a free controller, and just pay $20, and then you get all these games, I'll be like, okay. I mean, that's kind of cool. Like, that saves me the stress of looking for a new console, buying the games and things like that. Because in the market right now, there are currently 4 streaming services. We've got Xbox Game Pass, which I described earlier, where of course it's a subscription by Microsoft. You can play the games across your PC, your Xbox, and your mobile device. But also again, you can buy the game separately if you wanted to. But why do that, right? Then you have Stadia, where you have to pay for Stadia Pro for certain features, and you have to buy each game. So it basically just racks up in price. Then you have GeForce Now, which is one a lot of people love, but developers kind of screw them over, because GeForce Now was one of the best services out there. It basically was NVIDIA saying, hey, we'll create a PC in the cloud for you. You pay to use that PC in the cloud, and then you can install any of the games you bought off Steam, which is a huge platform people buy games off, or Epic's game store, or any of the various game stores. Because it's a PC, you just install the game store on the cloud,
as you would do.
and you play your games. And as gamers, we're all like, oh my god, this is great. So now because as a PC gamer, you're like, yeah, I got a laptop, but it's not as powerful. But if I just log into GeForce Now, I can.
Yeah, you've got the.
Yeah, and again, I own those games. And again, for a lot of PC gamers, we've bought those games. I mean, I have games I bought since 1999 that are on there before they even started the service. This is that's why a lot of people love it, because before they actually had a service, as long as you registered your games, you automatically downloaded it. But developers said, no, we want part of that money, so we're not going to let you access. And people are like, I bought the game already. I'm just borrowing somebody's PC to use it. And then finally, we've got Amazon Luna, which Amazon is in the beta stage. Amazon's own service has 2 stages. They have one where Amazon will give you games to play. And then second is Ubisoft has its subscription layer. So they've got channels. You can subscribe to the Ubisoft channel and you get access to all the Ubisoft games. So a lot of people are thinking Stadia might go that route, because it allows them to have subscription services that people can jump into. Except, how many things are we going to subscribe to? This is the age-old problem.
Subscriptions now. It's just so many. So, I mean, do you think Stadia still has a future?
It's Google. It's dead in my mind. I as much as it's really good, I think, just going by the pattern of the company and some things they shut down, I think we're going to see that slow decline to it. Or unless, of course, they come up with a different model in here and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how you have access to games. Because the thing with gamers is, I remember we had a clubhouse room. I think you were in that room where we had Paris, who was the game guy. And then I made fun of Viper. And I said, Viper was one of those people who never liked Game Pass until he got an Xbox Series X, got Game Pass, and he's like, oh, this is great, because I don't have to buy those Xbox games. I'm like, that's what it's missing from Stadia. The ability to be like, oh, okay, I can jump right in without spending extra money.
All right. I mean, so let's see. So it's interesting news, but This is why I've got E here, because my man's a gamer much more than me and can really drop that knowledge on Stadia. So let's see how it goes. I hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to hear the full podcast episode, then that will be linked down below. And if you want to see more clips like this, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss them. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf Speaks, and I'll see you next time.